Welcome to the Shared Value Conversations once again. And this is where we explore the intersection of shared value, ESG, sustainability, and entrepreneurship on the Africa continent. And this is just, it's more than just a discussion. It's a movement where we try to redefine the future of business on our continent. And we at Shared Value Africa, we want to bring to our audiences thought-provoking conversations with established and young leaders. We want to talk to sustainability experts and innovative entrepreneurs to uncover those real-world challenges, breakthrough successes, and transformative opportunities that shape Africa's sustainable future. You know, my mantra is always that Africa is where we're building the global future. So our purpose of these shared value conversations is to inspire action, to foster collaboration, and empower businesses, those established ones and the young ones, to integrate shared value into their strategies and proving that purpose and profit can actually go hand in hand. But I'm very excited this afternoon because we are talking to Justine Kiska. Did I pronounce that correct, Justine?
Yes.
Okay, and she is the young person, and she'll probably say that she's not that young, but she is, because I remember when I met her the first time. Here was this beautiful young lady with this long dark hair, talking about her business and what she's got envisaged for the future and everything. And today she actually runs a very successful entity called Africa Talk Business. But I've known her now, I don't know, how long has it been, Justine? 3
I
years?
know you for
Hey?
two I know you for 2 years because Africa Talks Business has been alive for 2.9 years.
Okay, so it's almost 3. But let me
Yes.
let me hand the audience over to Justine. Justine, if you can, I want to share specifically with our young entrepreneurs today, your story. How did you come to this 2 years and 9 months of Africa Talk Business, and what is it that drove you towards this? So tell us your story. We want to know. Thank you. Over to you.
Okay. Should I start from where I started off in business, or do
Yes.
I just start off with ATV?
No, 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 no. Talk about where you started off as an entrepreneur, because I know you've shared with me some stories about, how many things you've done already. Yeah. So over
Yes,
to
I
you.
actually have not shared my starting out journey before. So I'm very excited to tell you and an audience about how I've started off in business. So when I was exactly 18 years old, I did not do that well at school. I was not very naughty though. I just didn't like studying that much. And my mother was very lenient with me. However, when I finished school, I couldn't get into university and I still tried though. I tried to do a higher certificate and then get a bridging course that I can, get into a degree. I managed to do that and I managed to start studying a degree, but I never ended up actually finishing it. I just did 1 year of it. In the interim, though, it was very difficult to find a job. So I called my auntie who lived in India at the time. And the reason why she lived in India, in a very small summary, is because she met someone from the US and he was from India and then she got married there. And so I called her and I said, you know what, can't you send me products? And back then you can send, gifts and you don't have to pay customs for gifts. So I just told her, send me anything, like a bunch of things. I know how to sell stuff. And in the box that she sent me hair, um, like wigs, wigs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I took those wigs and I went to the mall because I lived very close to the mall. I walked to the mall and I was going to cashiers and just random people and saying, hey, I sell wigs. I've got these wigs on hand. You can you can buy them, now for the cheapest price possible, really. And long story short, I ended up just selling those wigs. I couldn't use my auntie anymore, so I had to find a supplier. I borrowed my mother's laptop and I went and made a Wix website. Wix was the in thing because, Wix was doing so well in advertising that you can make a website without doing anything. So I made a Wix website and then I took images online of weaves and wigs, and I just uploaded it onto that website, and I would tell people like, this is my catalog, this is what I'm selling. I didn't actually have the products on me, but I knew different suppliers where to get the products. And then I went to Dragon City actually, and China Mall and all these places to try and see which cheaper wigs, what are more expensive, doing, I guess, market research in a
Yeah.
sense. Yeah, that's
See who
that's
your
what it was.
competitors are. Look at who your
Yeah,
competitors are.
yeah, yeah, that was the market research. So I took um my findings and I started narrowing down what was selling and what wasn't selling, what people were interested in, what people would ask me about, and I narrowed that down. And then I kept growing the hair business to the point where 3 years in, Lesizwe, who was quite popular at the time on social media, I think he still is, he was starting to wear wigs because he's doing very funny skits. And I didn't really call his manager. I actually messaged her on Instagram and I said, look, I run a wig company, a hair business. Would anybody that you're managing be interested in wearing their hair? I'll give it for free. I took all the money I had and I bought the most expensive wig at that time, and I just gave it to him for free.
Wow.
And he put it on his head and he wore it online and he tagged my business, and there was a lot more people interested. And that is when I learned the art of branding, that it's not about the hair, it's about now the brand, who's wearing it, who's seen with it, who's talking about it. And then I started understanding what branding means. Then it's 5 years into the business. I then decided to sell the company, and then it got sold to Vantage Capital. Well, a person who worked there. So it didn't get sold to the actual company. Well, I don't really know. It was just somebody who worked there that bought the business from me. Fast forward, I started a few other things. I'm not going to tell all of them, but it's just that I had some money left over and I started a bunch of other things. One of the things that I'm most proud of is during COVID, I started selling wood. And I want to tell
Good.
the story because it's funny. Yes. So I was
Okay.
driving down Doors Galore, and there was a big bin full of wood. They don't do this anymore because it was bad that the manager was fired. He was bad for actually wasting so much wood. So they don't do that anymore. It was just kind of like a luck type of situation. So there was a bunch of wood there, and I took the wood. I asked them, "Can I have the wood?" And I rented out a storage, and I was putting the wood in that storage because it was huge pieces. It wasn't like small, thin scraps. So I thought maybe I could do something with it. So I was cutting it up in smaller pieces, and I was selling it to people, and I had a bit of a supply going on with it. And then I managed to again do some market research with Spa and the local places to see what wood is actually put um in their stores. And they had Steckelbos.
They had what?
And
Sorry?
there was a wood called Steckelbos.
Oh, okay. And is this
And that
holding
was
shelves?
no, this wood was just for braais.
Oh,
It was just a
okay.
braai.
Okay. So you use it to make a fire. Okay, great.
Yes, but
Okay.
the wood that I was taking, the
Yeah.
wood that I was taking was used for doors. It was also expensive. It was Meranti, so it had
Oh,
oil in it. So you can't
yes.
braai with that wood. You
Yes.
can start a fire, but you can't braai with it.
Yeah.
So I figured all of this out. I got to know wood. I got to know pallets and all these other things. And then what happened was there was a competitor. Because what happened, I called the spas and all these local places and I said, I'll do 24-hour delivery because I had a storage unit. I didn't
Yeah.
have a warehouse.
Yeah.
So the original supplier was wondering where their customers are. So they came to find out what's going on. and I was threatened. It was a fun time. Lots of threats and people wanting me out. So I managed to sell that little project that I had for 25,000 Rand.
Great.
And I took that 15,000 of the 25 and I just bought myself a ring. And I told myself that that ring is
Yeah.
going to make me believe every time I see it that I'll just get the money back. I don't know how, but that ring just means I'll find a way to get money somewhere.
So can I ask you, do
So
you still have the ring?
I still have the ring. That
Oh,
ring is
good.
like it's one of the stories I've always wanted to tell. Like I took 8 months of my life building something and just blew half the money on like
The
just
ring.
yeah, on a ring. Uh, so yeah, I'm married to the commitment of making money. That's the ring. So anyway, after that I pretty much was flat broke, eh? I
Yeah, because you only
I
now have
did-
10,000 left, eh?
was pretty much was pretty much flat broke, 0, 0, 0, all the accounts, minus some in others, because when you're a business owner, you like to open up
Yeah.
many bank accounts.
Yep.
Um, and it's just fun, right? Oh, can I get to know what your charges are? You just mentally think there's gonna be millions in like all 5 accounts. So either way, I had to borrow money. I started from scratch and I ended up borrowing some money from exactly what they tell you online. There's always speeches online about, oh, do crowdfunding, ask your friends and family, tell people about this, pitch to people. So I did that. I asked my friends and family for money. And because I had a track record of selling a company, there was a lot more people who were willing to work with me. I think that's where things were okay. And I had a lot more confidence and abilities, was knowing that no matter what, I pretty much know, I have a foundation. I pretty much know the basics of what to do if something goes wrong. Um, so there was already enough people who believed in me, who were okay to invest in me, because of my first rodeo, I'd say.
Yeah, yeah. Can I
So
ask you a question? So how old was Justine then at this stage when she put that ring on her finger and she married the commitment of making money and she went out and borrowed some money from friends and family? How old were you then?
I was 25.
Okay,
I
okay.
started at 18, so
Yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah,
was
so you
25.
had a fairly, good track record. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I had a track record of actually, working with the business, not taking money from anyone or not, as they say in business terms, screwing anyone over. I had a track record of focusing on something, building it and selling it. So people trusted. I had a bit of a trust to my name. So people were okay with giving me money. But at the time when it came to Africa Talks business, what I actually did was I was initially trying to start a PR agency where I could get all these different media houses all together and I could sell someone exactly like you, Tiki. Actually, that's how I met you because I emailed you like that. Somebody just like you and everyone else to buy into having regular articles, and I could facilitate that. Um, that was initially my idea. And I sat with a family member at that time, and I had suggested to him that I want to start a PR agency. Can he help me? He can have half of the company. And he told me this is not a great idea. You should start your own publication because you're good at marketing, you're good at networking, and you yourself can go and interview people. So why don't you just try it out? And he was more willing to invest in something that was his idea. He's investing his money and he's having half of the company. So it was my duty to now run it, conceptualize it, and make something of it. So initially, that's exactly what I did. I sat and I thought to myself, what names can I name my company that sounds big and it sounds like other people have heard it before? So when I named Africa Talks Business ATB, I went on Google and I tried to find what sounds similar. So if you say to somebody, have you heard of Africa Talks Business? They're not actually registering if they have or haven't, because it just sounds so familiar.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So
So well done on the research, because I think when you talk about something that's got Africa, you know what I mean, in its name, and then you've also got business as well, you know, it all goes together, and people will, it has a ring to it that it's been out there, you know, you're 100% right.
yeah, and it sounds like something like you're saying uh, that is big. It
Yeah,
just has the words of it. It's Africa, we're
yeah,
talking about business. It's got that. So that was initially, I was either going to copy a name
yeah,
and just put the words in different order,
yeah,
or I was
yeah,
going to, those were the two, because I've been in branding for a while, and I think one of the things I've learned a lot um, is human behavior in terms of the psychology of value. I've spent so much time with people and understanding business that I really understand when somebody looks at something, the color of something, when they hear a name, when they hear the type of words you use, when you articulate yourself in a manner, I will know if I'm getting to that person or not in terms of
yeah,
sales. Because I've been selling for such a long time in terms of daily. It's not the timeline, it's the frequency of how
yeah,
much I've been doing it.
yeah.
Daily sales of 3 or 4 people, you kind of get to know what words to use, what you know is relevant for them to take an interest.
Yeah, I think sometimes people do underestimate, Justine, the almost want to say the value of somebody that is really really good at sales, and I've always looked at myself, and I don't think I am, you know, but the thing is, it's say a sale, you sell yourself to people every single day. Are you with me?
Yes.
You don't put a price and say, okay, it's going to cost me so much to speak to me, but the value of yourself that you're selling to somebody, there's an enormous value to that, because people buy into you first before they buy into Africa Talk Business. You know, the name might have drawn them,
Mm.
but it's the person that they buy into. Do you agree with that?
I absolutely agree with that. I think there's also, for me, I've been transitioning in my journey with Africa Talks Business, but that's such a separate conversation to what you've asked me. So I'm going to stick with your question.
Okay.
When it comes to how I started, I borrowed the money, like I said, and then I started a small blog site by registering the domain. And then that blog site, we were interviewing people for free. That's initially how we began. And then we also started doing press coverage and things like that for free. I know we did that with you as well,
Yes.
where if yes, so that is how I got to expand the network um, and grow more sales.
Can I ask you though, do you think now, speaking to entrepreneurs, which I'm hoping is listening to us, so do you think you sometimes have to give things away for free in the beginning? You know, or does that depend on the business?
You have to. You
Okay.
have to. The thing is, what you're not giving anything away for free. I think people have this misconception because they see the word free with a negative connotation. But if
Mm.
you are confident that you are going to achieve something or get something out of that, it's not for free. You're investing your time into getting something that you desire. You can't really push your desire onto somebody else, sell them something and still want more from them,
Yeah.
because it's going to put them in a mindset of this is not mutually beneficial anymore. You just want and want and want, and I just have to give. So I think with young entrepreneurs as well, and this is how I was, you you take the value of what you've done. And I've noticed this in people who are highly educated and they start businesses and they struggle because they've got this idea of, I'm so successful in all the knowledge I have. I don't need to prove anything to anyone.
Mhm.
It's not really about proving yourself. It's about sitting and understanding, how do I find synergy in what's important to me? And then also get that person to achieve what they want as well. Everything about business is about, it's about synergy and create, literally like shared value. It's about creating value. Two people need to get what they want. And if it takes me to give you something, I don't see it as free. I'm giving you my trust. I'm giving you my loyalty. I'm giving you my commitment. I'm showing you that I can give you something. I can add value to your life. And in exchange, you can trust me with the things that are important to you. I can upgrade them, and I'm going to do them at a charge. I'm going to do them at a fee. But that relationship started with us needing to form a basis of trust. So if I have to show you or prove to you that I can be trusted, then I don't mind giving something, because I'm not actually giving anything for free. I'm showing you that you can trust me, because at the end of the day, I know a lot of people say a lot of things, but trust is earned amongst people. You don't just randomly meet people and decide, I'm going to start a business with you because you are a multi-billionaire.
Yeah.
You meet people and you find out, what are they doing. I mean, a billionaire can be a drug dealer. You need to have some sort of action in, what am I trying to achieve? What are you trying to achieve? And if you can meet off
Yes.
the basis of that, there's nothing else that matters. We can't allow negative ideas that society has put out there for us to not achieve our result. Because the biggest thing is, what is the outcome? What is the result that we want?
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say to you something that you've just said, which for me personally, is very important. I think that life is about exchange. Okay. So what you just said now, you exchange. So you build a relationship with somebody, you give them something for free in inverted commas. Okay. That's the first exchange that take place. Then the next exchange is finding out from that person what their needs are, and then to build the trust and then go on the journey together, to do business together. Because for me, if
Mm,
the exchange is out of kilter, if there's somebody just giving all the time and somebody else just taking, that's when business relationships also, what I mean, don't really last, because they got to
mm,
be a mutually beneficial relationship, and even in a private relationship as well, you know what I mean, and in a business relationship. Um, but I was going to say to you, Justine, words of wisdom, from a young entrepreneur. Because I think that when I've watched Africa Talk Business and the growth of it in the 2 years and 9 months, I mean, for me, just having known you, has really been great, because I know we talk every now and then, or, about how things are going and how Shared Value is doing and how you are doing. But I also want to ask you, if you had to give an entrepreneur today, sort of like from an Africa Talk Business perspective, what are some of the difficulties that you faced after you now got the money and you've spoken to your family member, and you've done all of this research? What some of the difficulties that you faced? Did you ever feel in this 2 years and 9 months to maybe that you've made the wrong decision or not?
no, no,
Good.
I never have. But the reason why, and if I have to speak to an entrepreneur right now, I would tell them that the biggest challenges you're going to face are the challenges within yourself and your mind. It has nothing to do with external things. Absolutely not. I know a lot of people say it though, like, oh, we have a cash flow problem, we have a this problem, we have a that problem. But it's not actually those things. I've dealt with all of that, by the way. I've dealt with staff issues, cash flow issues, almost being sued issues, clients being upset issues. But all of those things are external. They all can be solved because how many people before us have solved those issues? How many people I can talk to you? You can give me advice. Yeah. I can talk to someone more experienced. They can give me advice. They are all issues and challenges that are all solvable because other people have been through them and other people can give us active ways, step by step, that we can solve these typical business issues. The real issue, I believe, is challenges and limitations of the mind when it comes to the business owner. I've struggled with this many times, and I see this also with my staffing issues, with cash flow issues. Most entrepreneurs, they're entrepreneurs because they are resourceful people. We're able to get people together, get ideas together, conceptualize things, put them together, and draw out events, coordinate magazines, sell products. All of these are actionable tasks and strengths that we all have, right?
Yeah.
So it's not really that. It's the issue of people sit with their staff, and I've done this, and I'm actually learning to undo this. I've been a selfish entrepreneur for a long time because I've had to focus on survival, like most people. And when you're selfish, you think about how do I make the most money, gain the most things, and still manage to expand. But when you think about how can I be a better leader, or how can I be a better team player, or how you ask yourself these questions, one of these questions reflecting. They're not reflecting that you need to go read 3 books and then start, enforcing those books around all the people in the boardroom. It means that you are not a team player for yourself. You have been running around all the time. You have been, for me, I have been running around all the time. I've been trying to make this work or that work. I am not a strong leader for myself because of the insecurities I have in my mind. Oh, maybe this person is going to leave the business. That person is not going to do that. But I haven't thought about the value. I'm going back to shared value. I haven't thought about the shared value between my employees and I. What are their desires as people? What do they want to achieve in life? It's always about me, my company. How am I getting there? How am I doing this? But what about them? What about what they want to achieve, what they want to do, what their role is? Because most people are not working for money anymore. You have
Yeah.
to give them something more.
Yeah.
And if you don't find
Yeah. No, if you
out
don't
what
find.
that, if you don't find out what that more is, more people will leave you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're going back to something that's very much, part of the shared value business management concept, and that is like looking after all of your stakeholders. And I mean, if you talk about your stakeholders, it's definitely your staff as well. And I guess sometimes for me, I'm just talking about myself personally here, Justine, is that for me one of the hardest things I find is managing people, because
Mm,
because you're working with people, as you just said now. What are their dreams? What are their aspirations? What is their home life like? Are they enjoying their work? Are they in a place where they want to be? you know it's there's so many elements that you as a leader have to think about and be aware of when you're managing people. But at the same time, I want to say to our young entrepreneurs that's listening is that you've got to surround yourself with the right people. I don't know what you
mm,
think about that, because if you
yeah.
don't have the right people, you said something now, you're worried about that you're going to lose something. I think I went through that, even in the 8 years that I've been at Shared Value, being worried about losing somebody. But and then I said to, and as rightfully what you're saying is that you've got to think about these things. And my thing is that I'm not indispensable. Nobody's indispensable. So that person will leave, even if heaven forbid, if something bad happens to them, you have to replace them. And is it going to affect the business? Yes, it will for a while. But then if the business is strong enough, it will survive. I don't know what you think about that, if you've ever experienced anything like that.
Yeah, I've experienced that multiple times because I was obviously young when I started out, and my frontal lobe wasn't even developed when I started business. So you can imagine what I was doing. You can just think about that. So I was not in a position where I knew how to communicate. I didn't have good effective communication tools. I didn't learn it when I was growing up as in my childhood. I didn't have a good I grew up a bit dysfunctional in my childhood. So I didn't really have all of these fundamentals to know. And I had to learn these things the hard way. So yes, I agree with you. There's so many times where I think the biggest asset we lose as business people is people.
Mm,
Everything else can
yeah,
we can really, put it back together. But when you're with someone, and especially, and I know you'll agree with me, especially if you've trained someone,
yeah.
it's like you can just remove your heart and just throw it somewhere where, wherever for the dogs to eat, because it is so dramatically sad and like there's so much distress that comes with that, because for someone who's working with you, they're working with you, and eventually they detach themselves from working with your relationship and with the business. You
Yeah.
don't ever detach yourself from that. So what happens is you look at that person like they become somewhat of a uh like almost like a family member, or someone that is close to you, speaking to them every day about visions, about dreams, about this. They sometimes are your emotional crutch. They sometimes take your emotions. It's all things that shouldn't happen. But when you're a small business owner, these are the
Mm,
only people you have around you. So
yeah.
it's you don't have a huge team of there's 10 directors and shareholders that are making decisions, and you guys have to all sign off different things. It's you can wake up tomorrow, change your business, change that person's outcome of their life, and move on. So you get attached to everybody that's around you in those moments, because there's not that much control that everybody else has. It's like you have to dictate the decisions that are made daily. So the attachment of people and the business becomes a weight after a while. And then to detach, it becomes like you lost a relationship, or,
Or you're
it's
being
more
rejected.
dramatic.
Yeah, you're being rejected.
Yes.
That's the big thing. I think for me, it's the rejection that you feel, you know what I mean, as an individual, especially if you've invested like 2 or 3 years in a person and then they decide to go somewhere else. I think I felt it, in the last couple of years. But I wanted to ask you another question because I love this conversation we're having. Is so from a shared value perspective, I mean, when our relationship started, you said you called me when you were busy with Africa Talk Business. And how have you now become part of the shared value community? And the reason why I'm asking this is that Andy, Andrews, who's joined us now,
Yes.
who heads up Shared Value Ghana, he just said to me that from a shared value Africa perspective, we never, and you spoke about value earlier on, you know what I mean, about how do you actually measure your own value, is something that we've never valued is the way that we build relationships with individuals like yourself, how we bring you into our world and share you with somebody all around us. And I wanted you to sort of just talk a little bit about that, from a shared value perspective. What have you learned being part of our community for the last almost 3 years?
I love the question. I actually, at the time, there was a staff member with me, and we were cold emailing. Who doesn't love a good cold email? And we we emailed you for an interview, and that is actually how I got to know you. You agreed, and then we did an interview, where you answered. We sent you questions, you answered them, and then we published it. And honestly, I loved that interview. By the way, I'm going to answer the question directly about shared value, but I just want to go back because there was the story that you had there where you took a loan on your home,
Yeah.
And these types of things where people have guts, it really inspires others like myself to also make illogical, irrational, risk taking decisions and just throw it all out there and say, you know what? Let's see what happens. It's the most amazing feeling. It's like you're on drugs basically when you take a
Yeah,
crazy decision. It's like this high, you know?
yeah,
So that story that you had, it inspired me at that time. I really just was starting out with ATB. And I was very, very excited that you were so vulnerable and telling us exactly how you started. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs nowadays, they don't want to be vulnerable. They want to say, I have this and I'm doing that and this is how far I've come. And, they don't want to say, look, I took this huge risk. I didn't know exactly what I was doing, but I just took it because people want to hear that because they just want to do it as well. They want to say, you know what, I have the courage. Let me just take the risk.
yeah.
So, with shared value, I think out of almost all the people that I've met, shared value has given me the most network, by the way. Thank you, Tiki.
Oh, thank you
Um,
for that.
that is true. I think what you, as Tiki, as a leader for shared value here, and your chapters, you've done a phenomenal job with getting people together. That is probably one of shared values' biggest strength. And yours as well as an individual is that you're just so good at getting a bunch of different individuals, different ideologies, identities, countries, all in one setting, promoting the same ideas and the same vision. And that really is what shared value is. It's bringing everybody together and they're all sharing in value. So I think you've done a phenomenal job with that. Shared value has really upgraded my business in so many ways. There are so many people who know me in terms of events. You've invited me to the JSC. I've never gone into the JSC building before if it wasn't for you. And I always wanted to. I've been there so many times now that at one of the sessions that we had, I left my diary there and I had to call them and go back. And so I'm very grateful for shared value and what's done for me as an entrepreneur. It's allowed me to network. What shared value does, though, it gives you the pool of opportunities. It is like the it is like the river basically that keeps flowing, and there's different fish there that are flowing, and it's up to you. You're bringing us to the water. It's up to us to actually go and take the fish on our own. So for me, shared value has really created the platform for me to get to know people and network with people. And it was my duty to expand on those relationships. But you were the foundation of giving me that open door. You were like the key. Shared value is the key to the value that I was able to exchange with all these different groups of people.
Thank you for those kind words, Justine. I think
Mm.
we sometimes forget, even ourselves, to see the value in being that connector. Because that was always, for me in the beginning, was bringing people together who's got, like-minded people together to try and talk about those things and take action on those things where we can create change. Because that's what we need specifically for our young people on the Africa continent. So I'm conscious of the time, but I want to ask you one more question. Okay, sitting here today, and maybe this was an obvious question that I was going to ask, but I want to ask you because I'm hoping that a lot of our young entrepreneurs are listening to this, and I'm actually going to ask them to listen to this because I really enjoyed this conversation and what you said is what would you say to a young entrepreneur? Because Andy was saying to me when we were in Ghana, he said, "Oh, we've got to get these young people." He said because some of them can see the value in being part of the shared value community. But I want to ask you not so much about the shared value community, but what advice would you give a young entrepreneur? Because we often say to them, go to these events, go and network, go and speak to people. Don't sit, because people go sometimes to these events and they're there with their colleague and they stand next to their colleague the whole time. So What advice can you give an entrepreneur on how to build your network?
I think my advice for younger entrepreneurs to build their network is just start off with relationships. Just start off with actually making friends with business people. Because honestly, that's how I started off. Especially when you're a young entrepreneur, a lot of people are not going to look at you when you are speaking to them. They're not going to look at you and think, or shame. They're gonna think, how can I also give this person an opportunity? I've seen that older business people who've been in the industry for a long time, they want to give young people opportunities. They want to speak to them. And it's just that the young person needs to come forward. And what I've noticed is if you just make the relationships, just make the allies. You don't have to necessarily always think, okay, how is this person going to put money into my account? How am I going to sell this? How am I going to give this? Start off with just building relationships with just the managers and business people around even your area. Even if you're not actively going to summits and you're a little bit nervous for that, find out who the manager of your local grocery store is. How do if just go to someone and say, how would I be able to supply here? Who is the owner here? I want to start something. I guarantee you, as a young person, there's no one's gonna say no to you if you're
Yeah.
just researching, you're just asking. Ask questions as well. I think the other thing is, when you're young, especially in this generation, things are always fast, fast, fast. You want results now. And when you go somewhere and you just have a conversation with someone, try and ask people things, because most people want to go and ask for something instead of ask to get information. They want to ask for an opportunity or for this or for that, like, can I have a job? Can I have this? Can I have that? Or how did you start? How did you get this job? How did this happen? So that you can find favor with people. When you
Yeah.
build relationships, you find favor. And when you find favor, you find the ability to work with that person.
I love that.
So,
I absolutely love
yeah.
that. Find
So
favor
there's
with a person. Yes.
Yes, find favor with someone. That's really what you want to do. So, my advice to young entrepreneurs is build relationships first. Just average friendships that you can have with business people. I've done that many times when I've invested into messaging different business people saying, "Hey, how's your business going? I'm doing this. How's this week going?" I promise you, business people love talking about what they're doing.
Yeah.
I'm doing this, I'm doing that. You don't even have to actively ask them for anything. They'll tell you for no reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the one thing. Yeah.
No, no, no. You finish?
The second thing is join networks, like you're saying. Join other people who are opening networks, opening doors for you, just like shared value. Join Jammy Trade, join Shared Value. If you see other prominent business people with a lot of experience starting up networking forums, join those things, because the chances are that when you join them, you'll actively be able to build relationships on a higher level compared to when you're just going out into your area or just going to, to random events and things like that. You're able to build relationships with people who are also be able to advise you and show you different ways of things. So I think shared value and as well as a jammy trade, the one thing that I love about these platforms, they being opened by someone with experience, years of business experience, which is where you'll find other prominent individuals. So yeah, those are the two pieces of advice really.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Justine. And obviously, I can speak to you for hours. I know we sometimes do talk for long, but but I've got to be conscious of the time. So I want to say thank you to you. Thank you for telling your story today about the wigs, the wood, and I hope that ring is living up to its commitment, of making money for you. Okay. And and I want to wish you all the luck with Africa Talk Business. But where can people that are listening to our podcast go and see Africa Talk Business? Tell us quickly.
Okay, you can find Africa Talks Business on www africatalksbusiness.com, and then at Africa Talks Business on LinkedIn.
Great. Okay. So I want to thank you, Justine, for making the time. I know you had to go into somebody else's office to do this, but I want to say thank you so much for the time, and thank you for being such an inspirational young leader as well. So to our listeners, I want to say thank you again for tuning, for those who are listening again, into Shared Value Conversations. And if you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, or join the conversations on our social media platform. And that's what I want to say. Go on to, Justine mentioned it now, go on to LinkedIn, follow Shared Value Africa, go on to LinkedIn, follow Jammy Trade, because that's where you get to see all the work we do. That's where you see all the different events we do, where you can come and join us, or maybe join us online and raise your voice online. And I want to ask everybody on the call today is, let's continue to challenge the status quo. Let's foster collaboration, and let's together create a lasting impact. So thank you again for listening to Shared Value Conversations, and hope you'll join us for the next one as well. And thank you again from our side, Justine, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.